Lesson 21, Section 1, Confronting the Issue of Slavery. A traveler heading west across the Appalachians after the War of 1812 wrote, "Old America seems to be breaking up and moving westward." It was true. By 1819, settlers had formed 7 new states west of the Appalachians. In the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, Congress had established a process for forming new states. In addition to outlining the steps leading to statehood, this law also banned slavery north of the Ohio River. As a result, the 3 western states that were formed north of the river, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, became free states, and the 4 states that were formed south of the Ohio River, Kentucky, Tennessee, Louisiana, and Mississippi, permitted slavery. In 1819, Alabama and Missouri applied to Congress for statehood as slave states. No one in Congress questioned admitting Alabama as a slave state, as it was located far south of the Ohio River and was surrounded by other slave states. Congress had another reason for admitting Alabama with no debate. For years, there had been an unspoken agreement in Congress to keep the number of slave states and free states equal, a balance that had been upset by the admission of Illinois as a free state in 1818. By accepting Alabama with slavery, Congress was able to restore the balance between slave and free states. Missouri, however, was another matter. Questions about Missouri. Some Northerners in Congress questioned whether Missouri should be admitted as a slave state, because most of Missouri lay north of the point where the Ohio River flows into the Mississippi. On the eastern side of the Mississippi, slavery was banned north of that point. Should this ban not also be applied west of the Mississippi? This question led to another one. If Missouri were allowed to enter the Union as a slave state, some asked, what would keep slavery from spreading across all of the Louisiana Territory? The vision of a block of new slave states stretching from the Mississippi to the Rocky Mountains was enough to give some Northerners nightmares. The Talmadge Amendment. When the bill to make Missouri a state came before Congress, Representative James Talmadge of New York proposed an amendment to the bill. The amendment said that Missouri could join the Union, but only as a free state. Southerners in Congress protested Talmadge's amendment. What right, they asked, did Congress have to decide whether a new state should be slave or free? According to the theory of states' rights, favored by many Southerners, Congress had no power to impose its will on a state, old or new. Instead, Southerners argued that the people of each state should decide whether to permit slavery. The fight over slavery thus involved a basic question about the powers of the federal and state governments under the Constitution. A deadlocked Congress. Southerners' protests were based on their view that if Congress were allowed to end slavery in Missouri, it might try to end slavery elsewhere. The North already had more votes in the House of Representatives than the South, but in the Senate, the 2 sections had equal voting power. As long as the number of free states and slave states remained equal, Southern senators could defeat any attempt to interfere with slavery. However, if Missouri entered the Union as a free state, the South would lose its power to block anti-slavery bills in the Senate, which would mean disaster for the South. In the North, the Talmadge Amendment awakened strong feelings against slavery. Many people sent petitions to Congress condemning slavery as immoral and unconstitutional. Arguing in favor of the amendment, New Hampshire Representative Arthur Livermore spoke for many Northerners when he said, "An opportunity is now presented to prevent the growth of a sin which sits heavy on the souls of every one of us. By embracing this opportunity, we may retrieve the national character and, in some degree, our own." The House voted to approve the Talmadge Amendment, but Southerners were able to defeat it in the Senate. The 2 houses were now deadlocked over the issue of slavery in Missouri. and they would remain so as the 1819 session of Congress drew to a close.